well, everybody's heard about the bird. The bird's a winner, well, a bird.
Grown men watch this shit?
A podcast about indie wrestling.
Bird is a winner, well, a bird, well, a bird is a winner, well, a bird. The bird's a winner, well, a bird, well, a bird is a winner, well, a bird.
Hey, yo.
Hey. What's going on, buddy?
Hey.
I think that we should do the first ASMR wrestling podcast.
That sounds great, but I don't know what that is. What is that?
ASMR is like audio sensory meridian responses, like that little tingle that you get on your arms or your neck when a sound just hits you just perfectly. People actually, dude, there's all sorts of ASMR videos where people will read books or...
Is it like to help people sleep? Is that the kind of thing we're talking about here?
Yeah, kind of supposed to relax people.
Right. I can't hear you. I've lost you. You're gone.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, that's better.
Sorry to be so silly. I just thought of it. So how's it going, man? It's been too long.
You do not need to apologize for being silly on this podcast. This is the very podcast for that. The little podcast that could, I'd say, known as...
And it grown men watch this shit.
Yep. Still can. Still chugging.
Dude, speaking of chugging, I'm enjoying for the very first time hard seltzer because I'm off the beer because it gives me the gout.
Right.
I'm enjoying a hard seltzer.
Well, as long as you're going to tell me it's not the hard seltzer.
I did not get the white.
Okay. All right. Good.
It's true. Essentially, it's the same thing. So, Chris, it's not really. Honestly, it's adjacent. It's White Claw adjacent. Black Claw. No, it's truly, and it's actually.
I've heard PBR has even come out with a hard seltzer now. You know that?
Oh, PBR. I'll have to try that one. That one sounds like something that's up my alley. I'm very hipster. You've seen the beard.
Yep. It's funny in my mind. PBR, great. On the other shelf, White Claw, not acceptable in the least. I don't know why I have such distinction, but I do.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get into the seltzer game much, but I figured I'm doing 2 podcasts this evening. Might as well have myself a beverage.
Look at you. Yeah, I wanted to talk about this. So you are basically the Rob Van Dam in what was it, 97, where you're on Raw, ECW, and WCW. You're on all the shows.
Yeah, what happened is Derek, some people may have heard us talk about our buddy Derek Montilla from the Steel Cage. He
big fan of Derek.
Had essentially all his guys, his team, kind of said, man, we don't watch wrestling enough. This is not necessarily a fun show anymore. And he didn't want to hang it up. So he said, hey, Uncle Beak, Jeremey, want to join me on this here show? And I said, you know what? No, I don't. I already do a podcast with Chris, and I'm busy, and we sometimes find it hard to find time to even record the show. And he's like, understood, but kind of, you don't dare do this with me. The Steel Cage goes away, and I don't want that to happen. And I go, will you twist my arm, friend? So now I'm doing that show with him. And then my buddy
thought this
Kevin,
was going to turn into a conversation of how he could sweeten the deal to get you on board. But you really just said yes straight up.
He killed me quite easily. Yeah, I was like, no, more work. I don't want to. But I really thought about it, dude. I mostly it's anxiety, the pressure about doing the shows that kills me. Not necessarily not having enough free time, because I have plenty of free time where I'm just dicking around on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I said, fucking do it. And then Kevin Deers from KISW, he was doing a show with my buddy Cody, and Cody could no longer do the show, and they do it actually out of the Rock studio.
That's cool.
Locally. And I fucking love rock. Not necessarily rock and roll music, but the Rock, the KSW brand. I love a really awesome radio show on there, and to get to record a podcast in their studio was a big thrill.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I mean, that's cool all around. You're basically just being a nice guy. You're picking up these podcasts from these people that can't do it no more to help your friends continue along. I think that's excellent.
I think it's pretty cool too, but I also had to reassure everyone that, as you saw on my Facebook, I do not want anyone to believe that my opinion on professional wrestling is solid and the most important thing in my life, regardless of how much I spew it on 3 different podcasts.
Now
I don't take myself nearly as serious as that might seem.
Yeah. I don't think anyone listening to this show thinks that you're a guy that takes every word as seriously as anything.
Oh, dude.
We have
Somebody
fun.
the other day.
Oh yeah,
this
is great. This is great.
On fucking Reddit, somebody told me I am a big mark for myself.
Right. Now, is
And
this
said-
the person that you later thought to find out that this is Jungle Boy's sister, or is this a separate occasion?
No, this is a different occasion. So that was a different. Like I just shared the picture, and then somebody said it was Jungle Boy's sister, so I deleted it. But no, it might have been when I posted that, but somebody did mention that he reposts things just to get over his Twitter account. I'm like, that is fucking ridiculous. They also made sure to say I'm very unoriginal, which you know what? Screw you guys.
Yeah,
and they said,
jerks.
yeah, huge mark for myself. And I'm like, well, that might be true, but really, it's like a gimmick, man. I'm trying to pretend to be arrogant and funny and over the top because really, I'm incredibly depressed and crushing my soul every day.
Oh. I pop for
you
this.
know what I mean. You know what I mean.
I pop for the accusation that you're just saying stuff on Twitter to get yourself over and to get attention, and I'm like, that's like the equivalent of I heard Jerry Lawler come out saying this past week that AEW is just using this Memphis wrestling history thing that they're doing this week to sell tickets and pop the crowd. It's like, isn't that the entire purpose of professional wrestling? And likewise, for your gimmick,
to entertain people.
Yeah, isn't that the entire purpose of being on fucking Twitter, right?
Yeah. When they told me that it was all pretty gross, I was like, okay. I hate to harp on it because it was just so ridiculous. And I am, not to do my own, I am a nice guy, a positive member of the wrestling community. So it's lame when people take me as an arrogant jerk.
But it's funny
nice
because like you're saying, those people don't necessarily know you in person. So it's like I can see half the stuff that you post on Twitter, and then I can simmer it down and kind of separate it and know a bit more about what you might have meant by that because I know you. Whereas other people are just going to take it at face value,
And sometimes that's the intent. I might want to piss somebody off. Not necessarily piss them off. I'm not a troll, but I can be aggressive with my opinions at times.
You can pull some strings sometimes. Pull on those heartstrings. Yep.
Hey, doggy.
Yeah, I think Courtney may be home. Maybe.
Oh, welcome home.
Yeah, well, we'll keep our listeners posted to these developments.
Enough about me. Sorry.
No.
How are you doing? Things are crazy down there, man.
They are a bit crazy.
Are things calming down? How are things going?
Oh, they suck. So everyone probably knows Australia is entirely on fire at the moment. I'm fine. I'm up in Queensland. We just get some smoky days, and we just have to be careful about when we walk the dogs. That's about the extent of how it affects me. But yeah, there's a lot of people who are really going through some shit, and a terrible non-action government that is not doing shit at all. So you've probably seen a lot of fundraising shit going around, which is very good. But I mean, to me, the biggest thing out of it, far more than the people affected, is the animals that have been affected.
Yeah.
So I read something today, apparently a fucking billion animals have likely died as a result of this. And then you have just cunts on Twitter who are saying, whenever people share these really great animal charities in this time, like the wildlife rescue, things like that, saying, why would you donate to that? There are people in trouble. You should donate to people. Like that fucking cunt, and you probably have him blocked, Brad Shepard. Did you see his thing on this?
No. I definitely haven't blocked.
I mean, he's not just the biggest cunt in the world anyway, and I could even lower my opinion of him anymore.
Yeah.
But he managed to do it. Fucking hell, man. That annoyed the shit out of me.
Good Lord.
Yeah. But I mean, we get that same
Uh,
opinion in just like the general public in Australia, and it annoys me to fucking tears. It's such bullshit. The fact that people are thinking we can't help animals because somehow
yeah,
people are more
simultaneously.
important. You know, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that kind of stuff's just been bugging me more. But yeah, just trying to work out. You know, there's a lot of great charities out there to donate to. I'll probably share one on the page if anyone wants to reach out. One of the better ones going today is it's called Wires. It's wildlife rescue. They're doing a lot of great stuff in New South Wales at the moment.
Yeah, it's a good one that you're picking a vetted one because sometimes people jump on these bandwagons and try to take advantage.
Yeah, a lot of people that exploit that shit. So yeah, it's been tough, mainly for the animals, I would say. But yeah, hopefully with enough support, things can get better. But I think it's just a big sign of the bigger picture of the global warming, not that fucking WWE
It's the warning
event
of the warming.
WWE event from 2002 in Melbourne.
Holy shit.
Featuring the three-way between Triple H, The Rock, and Brock Lesnar that I was at.
Amazing.
But no, it's, Australia, you guys might not know, is incredibly fucking behind when it comes to any activity whatsoever with regard to climate change and actually making progressive steps on it. We're still I think the world's biggest coal exporter. It's just so backwards. It just blows my mind.
Lord.
Yeah. And
Clean
then
coal.
coal. And yeah, the parties in charge of it have no plan. I mean, the two major parties in Australia really have no plans at all to step back from that. So, but anyway, people don't listen to this to be a political podcast, but safe to say, a lot of bad shit going on over here. So if you can help, especially when it comes to the wildlife, there are a lot of animals that would be very, very grateful.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been pretty crazy. One of my main jobs, outside of all of the cash that I make from this podcast.
Wait a minute. You've been taking all of that money, sir.
Yeah. Oh shit. I was meant to keep that a secret. Oh no. But yeah, outside of that and the art and illustration stuff I do, I basically do marketing and design for a company that actually specializes in air treatment, air purifiers or air filters, I think as you guys call them over there. So as you can imagine, that has just been fucking insane in terms of the amount of those and the demand for people who are just not able to breathe because of all the smoke. So it's
for sure.
Just been incredibly busy. But yeah, enough about me. I think people want to hear about the wrestling.
Fuck yeah!
Yeah, so this week we actually had a bit of a back and forth. I'm like, what the fuck are we going to talk about, right?
Yeah, for real.
Because
a lot of stuff has happened. There's been a lot of shows, news that isn't necessarily great to talk about. Yep. So
pretty much all that I've been watching for the last 3 weeks has just been catching up on New Japan and then the big Wrestle Kingdom weekend. So I've just been in such a fucking New Japan bubble. And people may know there's actually a New Japan podcast on this great Social Suplex podcast network. So it probably wouldn't be ideal for us to just talk about that the whole time. So we're in a bit of stuck in
quandary.
A quandary, that's a better way of putting it, about just what we would talk about today. But you know what? We settled on something. A couple of things. But I just thought, we hadn't done a year in review show.
I'm not prepared for this at all.
Have you got the page open?
Yeah, let me pull it up. The Wikipedia list of events.
We're very prepared on this show because
lots of crazy stuff has actually gone down overall. And one of the big things that I've noticed through this year, as far as a year in review, is lots of new companies, investing themselves and getting on either TV or some streaming service, and actually putting out some great product from beyond. And then the one that we're watching now, we watched some MLW.
Yes, Yeah, a lot of changes. Like, I was trying to think back, because our listeners may know that we're probably quite alike, you and me, Jeremy, in terms of us being easily distracted, not having the greatest memory,
Fair.
jumping all over the place, and if something's not happening right to us in this particular moment, chances are we have no fucking idea what just happened. So it's great that we have a list here to refer to. But I was going over this Wikipedia article list, and I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of significant stuff I completely forgot about that is kind of worthwhile talking about now, where you can look at it in perspective of how the whole year shook out,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what you said about like all these things starting up, I mean, the big one, AEW, I would say. Yep. But then both how they've gone through the year, but even just their presence themselves, I think it's like had a big effect, far-reaching all over the professional wrestling world, and especially in like the independent wrestling, and probably a negative one as well. What do you think about that?
What do you mean by negative?
So, I think there are a lot of companies that were in a far stronger position prior to AEW that are now struggling to have to even like draw fans, because there's just such a saturated market right now, and it's like
that is fair.
There's so many companies that are doing great stuff, but there's just not as many people watching it because people are creatures of watching what's talked about, I guess, what's getting publicity, and it seems to be going to both the up New York Territory Wrestling Monopoly and their subsidiaries, and then also this All Elite Wrestling. So then you got your smaller companies like your MLWs, your ROHs, even like I reckon PWG has suffered significantly. Especially looking at their last show, they didn't sell that out. I can't remember the last PWG show that didn't sell out. A lot of companies struggling to draw right now, and I think is that because of the elephant in the room majorly that is All Elite Wrestling.
There's strong. I mean, it would definitely be a big influence on that. ROH's attendance has been crazy. Like people. You watched the last show. It said the actual in-ring stuff was pretty great, and the talent roster is fucking stacked still. It always is for the most part, but the attendance was just like abysmal. And some people were saying
the attendance was far better than what I was expecting. But yeah, I mean, you 100%.
But in the long run, and then people are. I heard some people that they could notice that the wrestlers themselves maybe even took notice, were kind of miffed that the people were, very slim coming in. I don't know, man.
I mean, it's weird because, I mean, like speaking about ROH, like you're saying, in the lead up to Final Battle, because like I myself, you can only watch so much fucking wrestling. And I normally stay up to date with ROH, watch all their big shows and most of the significant stuff they do. But, trying to catch up with Japanese wrestling, I was in Japan for a large bit of that, and all of the other companies going, I did get a bit behind. And then I went back and watched like some of their last big pay-per-views, like Death Before Dishonor, the big, I think it was Glory by Honor show that they had down in Miami, I believe, in the lead up, and then, Final Battle itself. And like, these are some fucking awesome shows, man, except no one was talking about them. And the biggest one that I think got the biggest disservice was Death Before Dishonor. That was the show where Roush won the title from Mr. Matt Taven. And it's like, seriously, that was like the best Roush match I've ever seen when he's not wrestling LA Park. and there was some other incredible stuff on that show as well. All in all, and I think, like, it's almost like the coolest thing about ROH now, you can tell the wrestlers are working extra hard because they want to be proving to everyone, hey, we may not be getting the attention, but we can put on, like, still a fucking stellar in-ring performance. And, I mean, you look at their roster, and like you're saying, loaded as fuck. And I think that's still the case going into 2020, so it'll be interesting to see how they go in terms of getting those eyeballs back.
I think it's important that they rebound, man, because the fingerprint that ROH is left on the business. I was just talking about this with Derek. It's like it's undeniable. Like everyone, so many top level stars had spent some sort of period of time in ROH, and the influence of grappling based wrestling actually being something that was a viable product that people wanted to watch really had in America. I mean, really, ROH had a big, strong.
Yeah, I'd say the entire in ring that you see in NXT and AEW right now was born in ROH, like that in ring style. But even more than that, like you look at the NXT roster right now, it's like 75% former ROH guys.
And dude, the main event or the big program on Raw is Seth Rollins versus Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens, all three former Ring of Honor champions.
Isn't that crazy? Pretty much all of the WWE headliners now are former ROH guys.
Yep, AJ, fucking A, man.
Yeah, that's nuts. Claudio. Not that he's a headliner, but I mean...
But still, the top level star on the program. Yeah, you can't beat it, man. I like he's got... I know you don't watch WWE, but in recent weeks, he's returned to referring to himself as very European.
Ah, that's fun. That's fun. Has he brought back the big swing?
I haven't seen him do that yet, because he's still a heel, because I don't think he's trying to do the babyface. Because they babyface that move up pretty big.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, so there's that. Did you hear about the ROH's big thing about like trying to get these fans back? The big show they've got announced for Baltimore coming up.
Oh no! What show?
Free tickets.
What?
So all tickets are free, but you have to like pre-reserve them. I think you probably have to pay like a Ticketmaster booking fee, but the actual ticket charge is $0. So this is and
weird
it's going to be
model.
I don't think it's weird. Like I think that's the exact kind of thing they should do right now. And the same thing, they put up a replay of the Final Battle pay-per-view up on YouTube for free. I think they need to be letting people sample the product because, like I'm saying, like it's a fucking awesome product, and like there's some amazing wrestling going on, some amazing wrestlers, dudes that actually care about what they're doing.
They also suffer because they're not running the weekly television program is never current. It's always behind from what's actually going on.
No, well they changed that for I think the worse. Like because I used to really like their show, even though it was like quite old. Like just in terms of being an episodic hour-long show, it almost felt like a throwback to me of like your classic kind of like territory wrestling shows where it's just kind of like a couple matches, some promos, basic shit. All self-contained, and then it leads on to the next week. They changed that like 6 months ago, so it's now just like some highlights, a couple of promos, and maybe like one match from a recent house show. And I'm not a fan of that approach, but it's like meant to be more current. So I don't know, which do you think's better?
Well, don't they? I mean, they should just run. I mean, Beyond can run a weekly show. Why can't they?
So you think they should do like a live show?
Not even necessarily a live show. It could be recorded one day and then aired the following day. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be live. It would be great if they go live, but
you think like the idea they run a show to tape that's meant to be just TV tapings and they do that every week? Is that kind of what you're suggesting? Yeah,
I think people are more invested in the storyline and ready to go watch a pay-per-view if they're watching a weekly program that leads up to a pay-per-view. You know what I mean? Yeah. Something that actually illustrates all the storylines, gets everybody on some TV time, and that way people are like, well, I'm compelled to go and watch this pay-per-view now.
I mean, I really dig like the approach that NWA's had about bringing back the idea of studio wrestling. I think that could be a great way to do it, where it's like your TV is in a studio environment. You have like 100 fans there, whatever, and it's just about like promos, some sweet matches, and it's nice and simple, and it builds up your shows. Like I think that could be good, and then you don't have the pressure of having to, draw the house, which I think drawing a big crowd every week might be a bit difficult. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Have you watched any more of the NWA? I kind of, honestly, not by choice, but I kind of ended up one of those people that stopped watching after Cornette left.
I actually only watched the first couple episodes when Cornette was on there. Mm-hmm. And again, not intentionally. When Cornette was gone, I stopped watching, but it was just not for any reason. I just got kind of busy.
Yeah, I think like maybe another company suffering from the oversaturation, but I mean their show's really fun. I did watch a little bit of an episode just because it was live at the time when I was like watching something, but then I had to leave and do something after their pay-per-view. I think the one where they had Marty come back, and it seemed fun.
Yeah, they're bringing a lot of cool characters on. Like Zicky Dice is now part of the program, and he's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I actually saw his promo on the episode that I watched. He's a pretty electric character.
Yeah, dude, he's super fun. He does magic in the ring sometimes.
Where do you know him from?
He's been around here. He's done the shows up in Whack. But yeah, he's a West Coast guy.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, and he's also in a band called Heart to Heart. It's like almost like an 80s style band. He's pretty like he's a what they call a Renaissance man.
Yeah, he strikes me as like a throwback Memphis kind of guy. Like almost reminds me like a Sputnik Monroe or that kind of like just money promo guy. The wrestling's like, you know, it's fine, but whatever. But like just in terms of being just an electric personality that you can't take your eyes off, like really gives me that Memphis kind of vibe in that way.
Hell yeah, he's back when the whole Brendan Dassey thing, you know, Making of a Murderer happened. He had like a T-shirt that he released. It was like Brendan Dassey going to WrestleMania or some shit. Like it was hella funny. So that's how I first heard about him. This ridiculous T-shirt.
Right, nice. Okay, so then MLW, they're another company where I think like the year before last year, 2018, I was watching them pretty regularly. I think like for their first like 40 episodes or something like that, I watched every episode. Well, that might be an exaggeration. Let's say 20. Basically, you know, when
the greatest fan in history.
yeah, I'll take all the credit. But I mean, I was really into that roster. I mean, shit, the company that still has Teddy Hart and Loki. Like, I don't care what the fucking company you are. I'm gonna watch you if you have those two guys. But then I don't know. Like, you know, you got all the stuff to watch, and I just kind of like fell out of the habit of watching it. And then yeah, I found in 2019 I really wasn't watching any MLW at all. How about you?
I'm the same, man. It's ridiculous. There's so much wrestling, and we talked about MLW a couple times when they first got, you know, on the air and on YouTube, and it was such a great show, man. Like clean presentation, crisp, family friendly, even, but with a little bit of edge. It's a good show.
Yeah. Like commentary was good. Like that was our first return of having Tony back doing commentary of wrestling. Now we get spoiled and have him every week on AEW, but still, yeah. And then, funnily enough, in the lead up to the show that we're doing right now, there was the match. I think we maybe mentioned on the last show between Loki and Davey Boy Jr. And I was like, "Fuck, that sounds like a great match. I really want to watch that one." And then so I watched that. And we also watched, they had like a year in review show or like a highlights of the year kind of thing, which was pretty good in terms of this look back thing. And I really enjoyed it. I'd recommend it to anyone out there. What did you think, man?
I really dug it because it's fun to see Timothy Thatcher on a actual weekly looking wrestling program, because you know, he's been a stalwart of the independent scene, but never been really a TV guy. And so it's cool because he's honestly, the full stop, one of the best ever. He's fucking amazing, incredibly realistic. He's one of the guys that on the internet are always like, man, I want to see realistic grappling. Timothy Thatcher's your fucking guy.
Yeah, I would say Thatcher and Hideki Suzuki are like my top two in terms of you know, actual catch style wrestling and
it's cool to see
realistic style wrestling.
Mix up with Davey Boy and then Davey Boy and Loki and holy crap, that finish that Loki uses, that fucking arm and neck choke trap thing he does on the back, like
it was like almost like a reverse triangle with the carotid artery and everything. Yeah, I thought that was real cool.
Using his entire weight to his advantage. That's fucking dope.
Yep. And
I really like the announce team.
Yeah. I it took a little getting used to for me because I like Rich Burkini, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's a great announcer. He used to be with NXT, right?
Yes, sir.
I think back when I was actually watching NXT, he was the.
I think he does it for
lead
Defy
announcer.
as well.
Yeah, so he's great. And then we used to have him and Tony, and then now Tony's more doing AEW. We had the brief team of Rich and Cornette, which I thought was actually a fabulous team. But then Cornette went to NWA, and then all the other things that happened. But then first time I heard the current team, so it's AJ Kirsch, I think, and Rich Burkini. I was not a fan at all. I just thought they both sounded really the same. I thought there was like no real presence about them. I thought they didn't really bring up many good points. It just kind of like sounded like generic WWE commentary where they're not really talking about much. But then the more I listened to them, the more I kind of, I guess, adjusted to them. And yeah, I'm in the middle of the road right now on that team.
I jumped to the match between I think I watched the Loki and Tim one first.
Yes, so did I.
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, just straight away by itself. So I really liked the way they were breaking down like the transitions, and when Tim had Loki in like the Boston Crab, and then he transitioned into the fucking surfboard. Like it was really smooth, and the way they covered it was awesome. Like even pointing out how Tim was trying to keep his shoulders off the mat. Like I was like, some reason I was really digging it, but they did definitely sound similar. Like they have a very similar tone and cadence.
That's a weird thing, isn't it? Like when you have two, it's the same thing with like radio.
Yeah, they're both play-by-play too.
Yeah, so I think you make a good point. Like I did really like the play-by-play nature of them actually like talking about what was going on in the ring and the strategy and like calling it like it's an actual with legitimacy. I thought that was good. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how they continue on. But do you think they need like a classic color guy?
I mean, it couldn't hurt. And AJ has a huge personality. If you've seen his other character, like Broseph Joe Brody from Hood Slam, so he can be that guy if they end up needing to be. So maybe they're just working up to where he can like go full heel on Rich and just be some over the top guy. I don't know.
What do you think in the current day and age of a heel announcer? I think it's passé and there's no need for it because everyone just tries to be like Bobby Heenan, but no one's as good as Bobby Heenan. So why would you even fucking try? Or Jesse Ventura. I thought he's the other one. It's Jesse and Bobby. Like no one could ever do heel color as good as they did.
Well, we're talking about two different things almost there because that's definitely true. But I think it can be viable if done correctly because I like when guys get their jabs in every once in a while and then maybe explain the logic of why a heel might choose to do something that maybe, gets the whole angle over a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know. It is kind of cliche at this point, but every once in a while Corey says something I really enjoy, even though he's a kind of a douchebag.
He's a guy that has go away heat for me. Like I can't. That's one of the reasons I can't watch WWE because I just can't hear his voice because I just think he's a terrible announcer in every way. But
it's all or nothing with you, buddy.
Well, it's just like a different approach. I think I like wrestling commentary, like traditional kind of like when I watch like classic territory wrestling, like watch like Memphis Wrestling or like Crockett, like that kind of stuff, where you've basically just got like two guys that are just like having fun and talking about the wrestling, and it's kind of like it's off the cuff, and it's got more credibility to it because they don't sound like they're just commentating a joke, even if they are. Like you have a guy like Lance Russell who would have like commentate it, and somehow like by him talking about it, it gives this thing that's preposterous like a credibility, which is kind of cool. But I don't know, just the current approach to commentary where people like have grown up watching WWE and think that's just the be all and end all of commentary. Like, I don't know, I'm not a fan of that at all.
The one issue I think primarily with the WWE commentaries, they try to like almost do their own style angle of what's going on in the booth. Like they're repeated gimmicks or memes that they say between the guys that they maybe reiterate from show to show. That doesn't necessarily have to do with the matches themselves. Maybe just busting each other's balls or calling each other out for shit where they're trying to get each other over. That the WWE is definitely has a problem with. Like those guys are always trying to, like someone will say something and they'll try to cut each other off and try to make each other look stupid. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you said something wrong, or what do you mean by that? Explain yourself. You contradicted yourself there, like, and not a comedic way. And it was like, you're
almost
not doing
like
your job correctly.
the JBL.
Yeah, they're infighting, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I almost feel like it feels like were you a big fan of like wrestling video games?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so once
all the pre-canned stuff.
Once they got the commentary on them, I love like the commentary of like the WCW games back in the day, where it's just clearly like highlights that make no sense, just like thrown in repeatedly. But then once it got to the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and like WWE had like, you know, the canned commentary on their games, and they just have the same. It almost feels like current commentary is just like commentary canned from a video game, where they just repeat the same bullshit points. They don't really make sense. Every match is just the exact same thing. They just say their same lines over and over again, and that's it.
The commentary on AEW this week was kind of jarring because I don't know who it was. Some guy from Memphis. I forget his name.
Dave Brown.
Something. I probably.
Dave Brown and Lance Russell were probably, in my mind, greatest wrestling commentary team of all time.
But they had him on the commentary and just kind of threw to him every once in a while, and like he's throwing a cliche, like, you know, like one of those canned wrestling
I don't think they did
lines.
a good job of prepping him or prepping the team in terms of how they would go back and forth with him.
Exactly. Like it seemed so when actually I felt the AEW show this week was kind of and I really am high on them overall, but this week's show was kind of
agreed, and I think it stood out even more because last week's show was so good.
And NXT was fucking sweet this week. It was a great show. And AEW, they ran the same angle in 3 different segments.
I thought AEW was like, it was almost like you're watching 2 shows. There was like the good matches and like the stuff that was good, and then the stuff that was just so bad. There was a great tweet that I retweeted from David Bixenspan.
Oh yeah, this is good. Oh, this is bad.
Yeah, but this is good. Oh no! Then we had the Brandy promo. That was bad. It just went back and forth, and it was like that Simpsons reference. What was the chemical thing at the end?
I don't have it in front of me.
I don't know. Anyway,
what do you think about Dr. Luther though? That popped everyone up here.
I like the idea that Dr. Luther is back. And going to get to finally be utilized on a big stage, but there's nothing I hate more in current wrestling than this fucking nightmare collective with Brandy. I think Brandy is the most off-putting character / just her very presence. There's nothing in wrestling apart from Corey Graves that just makes me want to like not watch whatsoever.
Worst commentary team combination.
Oh man,
Brandy and Corey.
When Brandy was doing the commentary, it was like, has no one like taught her the basics of professional wrestling, of how you're meant to like build up your opponent while like talking them down but presenting them in a credible way? She just straight up said these 2 girls are boring and she doesn't want to watch the match.
Yeah,
what the fuck?
And she's just arguing with everything that anybody else says, like not even a funny way. Like when
just
she
like
was arguing with
instincts.
Excalibur about his mask.
You know that the person that she reminded me of in terms of terrible instincts, just nothing good whatsoever, and just complete black hole on the show? Stephanie McMahon.
You thought she was that bad?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say Stephanie's that bad.
Oh, no, I think Stephanie is the dirt worst. But I would say that few people have had as much of a damaging effect on the overall world of professional wrestling than Stephanie has. But that's an aside point. But no, I just couldn't stand this fucking Brandy thing, and each week it gets worse. I'm like, is this just an awkward conversation that they're really putting off having with Cody to be like, all right, we really need to drop the Brandy stuff, or what's going on here? They're just digging their heels in.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I think the as much as people gave shit to the Dark Order, I think they're a million times better than this fucking Nightmare Collective thing right now.
I think it's funny that they literally had 3 people get invited to join the 3 stables, and all 3 people said no. Like, it's the same angle 3 times, and
Yeah.
I understand that they're trying to get traction by getting these storylines and these stables established, but let's pepper it in, not all in one fucking show, people.
Yeah, exactly. It's a thing that I've feared for a long time with AEW. Like, they don't have the one booker that's really putting this whole thing together and overseeing it and making shit make sense, and not having stuff that lessens the other shit because you're putting it together. It's like there's just a lack of cohesion. And I guess that's because there's so many cooks in the kitchen from what you hear about the different people. Like, I heard that Kenny is in charge of the women's division. Cody is in charge of his stuff. The Bucks do the tag division. And Tony kind of like oversees the lot in a way. But I don't know. What do you do here? You just give the whole book to Cody?
I don't know. That seemed to work for his daddy. But his daddy got himself over mostly better.
Yeah, it worked for Dusty for a few years, but
Yeah.
I'd say even Dusty only lasted was it 2 good years that they had in Crockett, or 3, before everything got 2 the same, and then they had Dusty finishes on every single show, and then ended up ousting him.
And Cody's not Dusty, so
Yeah. But I think of all of the shit on the show, it's Cody's stuff that's the most consistent and makes sense.
yeah, he looked great this week.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of the Arn thing?
Oh, very amusing.
Yeah.
I love Arn Anderson in general.
Yeah.
He's a great addition to the show.
You could see how sad the crowd was that they didn't get the Cody promo, though.
Yeah. And honestly, you're right. Like, the stuff that was good so I hate to say meh, but it just
so up and down.
Yeah, and then I hate to harp on it, but doing the same thing, and then having the most cliche ending ever of Moxley
man, how
joining,
drawn out
and
was
then
it?
oh my god, it took forever. It was
Were they
funny when
short
they were
on
in the ring
TV
doing the
time
bubbly.
or something?
I have the bubbly spraying, when there was hardly anything left, and they were Chris and Sam were both still trying to get the spray and nothing was coming out. That shit was cracking me up though.
Yeah. It was almost like, do you think they were going for the let's draw it out as long as humanly possible so people think it's too long and the turn's not coming, so then when the turn comes it'll actually get a pop?
Yeah, that's probably it. I really, really liked that Moxley went to go grab a second gimmicked champagne bottle and it broke as soon as his hands touched it.
I noticed that.
He's so strong. It broke instantly.
The hands
And then you
of
look back at the
Adonis.
if you look at the back of the table, the other one that was sitting there was clearly gimmicked, just broke on its own.
It was a very fast thing on screen, but if you're looking in the right place,
Yeah.
it's funny.
I love when that shit happens. It's so amusing. We all know it's a show, so it's fun to see the things kind of fall apart a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I really want them, because they did such a great show last week, and they just did away with all of the dumb, goofy bullshit. I just wish we could just, in general, say, all right, we're just cutting off this entire Nightmare Collective, no more. If we're I'm torn on the Dark Order as well, because they have some good stuff, and then they have some stuff that's just goofy and comes off real fucking bad. How do you think they can fix that?
Have
Is
them
that
do
savable?
something. I think so. I think it's fun. I think the creepers, the big mass of humanity that he sits on, is really cool look. Plus, any guy who wants to get a little bit of TV time can wear a fucking little mask and run out there and get their first gig on a show. That's fun for people.
I think that's the problem, personally. I think they
that?
need to do away with having any physicality whatsoever with any of these enhancement talent mask guys, because it seems like the quality of the guys that they're using for that are just straight up out of wrestling school. But
I think that's good. I think that's good, honestly, because
Really?
those guys don't. They don't need to be good. they're fucking grunts. They're like putties.
But that's what I'm saying. If they're that bad, then they shouldn't have any physicality whatsoever. Because then you end up with what we had on the fucking last show of the year, with the fucking punches that were like 2 feet off. Like that was, I did find it clever what they did in making it like canon. Did you see that?
What? I missed it.
So
I saw it and I totally forget.
So the world, went crazy with this schmuck that was like couldn't throw a punch to save his life. Randy Orton buried it, and the big hubbub. Eric Cannon said that it was him, even though it wasn't.
Yeah.
So all of this went down. Everyone was like complaining about it for a long time. And then this past week on, I think it was on Dark, or it was on something, maybe on the build up to the Memphis show. They had like a pre-tape thing with the Dark Order, and they showed like a replay thing, or they referenced the punches missing, and were telling the grunts there's like no room for mercy. I was like, that's a pretty cool save of such an embarrassing thing.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know, man. I think they're going to be add more people and weed out the weaker members, because they asked for all the losers to join their group, so they can't have a bunch of these super elite fucking badasses in the ring with them. They have to be goofy.
Well, I would compare it to Raven's Flock, right? We had Raven's Flock, which was made up of a band of losers and misfits, but none of them were as bad wrestlers as like these schlubs that they're using for the bloody creepers.
But I think the creepers shouldn't even necessarily be proficient wrestlers at all. They should just be these guys that are like, they're just get in the way, enough of them to slow the guy down. They don't have to be good. It's like classic comic book shit. Like all these easily dispatchable bad guys, but they still at least break the guy down a little bit before he gets to the boss.
But like, you should at least be able to sell properly if you're going to be in that role,
Oh, well, sure. I mean, but at the same time, no, not necessarily, because just maybe some of the guys need to get teed off on and have them not necessarily sell. They're gonna get really hit. I don't know.
I think maybe they just need better pre-show production meetings with these guys if they're insistent on using guys that have such
try to at least
experience.
Hit the dude. I mean, we at least ask them that much.
I would, to me, no more physicality with the creepers. Like, they can be there, they can be pushed around, they can be sat on, but they do not do anything wrestling wise.
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, back to this MLW show.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed watching that that match that we already watched and spoke about on this show, but I really enjoyed watching that Thatcher Bulldog match again.
Mm-hmm. Did
you watch that again, or did you skip over it because you already watched it?
No, I did watch it again because it was great.
Yeah, so great. Really good on the rewatch. I kind of dug the... I think I was a bit hit and miss on the promo stuff throughout the show. I thought the Tom Lawler feud with Ross Von Erich, where they're having this brawl through bloody...
It was so funny.
Queen's Subway and
you catch that guy who walked around the corner and like clearly didn't realize there was a camera crew. He's like, what the fuck?
And then they were like in a gas station and he's like hiding behind the gas fucking thing and then pokes him in the eyes. That stuff got me. That was good. And then Tom Lawler escapes on a subway and like the doors just closed just in time and he's giving him the fingers as he's saved by the subway. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I was enjoying it. Hey, give me 1 second. The dog got his toy stuck. I need to grab it.
Aww.
He's whining. 1 moment.
Yeah, it was a fun show. I would recommend it, and maybe if people just want to give MLW another try, it's definitely a fun product.
Yeah, and they got cool guys like fucking Hammerstone and MJF.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
what do you think of Hammerstone, bro?
Dude, I hadn't seen too much of him until we saw him in person at the MLW tapings that we went to in Queens. And then the next I saw him was in Noah this past year. He was part of their big N1 tournament, the replacement to the Global League. And he really surprised me. That dude can work. Like, he's a fucking good wrestler. Only thing that I can't stand about him is his fucking dumb jeans. Like, just get some fucking wrestling gear, bro, and then I think it'll be good.
He used to have wrestling gear until he totally changed his gimmick. He used to look like fucking Triple H, man.
He would fit in so much better in the fucking Dynasty if he like had gear. He's just like, why do they have this schlub wearing torn jeans when they're meant to be like these rich kids, you know?
Because he's so cool, man. Those are designer torn jeans, bro. He paid a lot of money for those designer torn jeans. Those tears were torn by Malaysian. No.
We're gonna make a slave labor joke?
No, baby.
That's really where I thought you were going.
I was actually gonna do a Fight Club because his gimmick is kind of based off Tyler Durden, and if you see the movie, he talks about the all the stuff in his house, and he had like glasses made by Malaysian such and such. But yeah, it could definitely relate into a slave labor joke. But I was going for a Fight Club, I swear.
Right.
But you should check out his match he had with Chris Bay up here at Whack, dude. They just had it on IWTV. It was one of their featured matches. Dude, it was so good.
Oh, nice.
Chris Bay is fucking great.
I do not know anything of Chris Bay.
Oh, fantastic. Check him out.
All right. I'll, if he is on a show that I'm watching in the future, I'll make sure not to skip that match because I remember, hey.
I'm not going out of my way to find him, but if he somehow ends up falling in my lap, I will check it out.
Hey, it's the equivalent of Matt Farmer putting over Dr. Luther to you, and then now...
It was just chats of Matt's wrestling history and his experiences hanging out with Dr. Luther.
Right. Because, I mean, I don't see you going out of your way to go through old Wing and FMW to find old Dr. Luther matches.
No, sir.
Maybe we should. Maybe we'd be surprised. I don't know. I don't want to bury the guy.
Yeah, that's why I specifically said Matt Farmer put him over big. I definitely was not speaking from experience.
Yeah, no, intrigued. Yeah, man. And then I was just... I really enjoyed the promo segments with the Dynasty, to be fair. I wasn't a fan of them to start with in MLW. I was like, these guys are just going to bore up the place. But their promos are fucking money, man. And yeah, like MJF and Hammerstone are both very proficient wrestlers, I would say.
Yeah, I like the other guy too. I like how he always calls the fans consumers.
And he always has the earbuds.
Earbuds?
In.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant.
Total douchebag.
Yeah, how obnoxious.
Yeah.
Speaking of obnoxious, this week, just a quick divergence. Mm-hmm. Seth Rollins is now calling himself the Monday Night Messiah. It's the douchiest and awesomest nickname in a long time.
You know, he needs some dudes to come and cut off his pinky finger. That's what he needs. It was the pinky finger, wasn't it? You know the reference I'm talking about?
No. It's
really?
Like a Yakuza thing, right?
No. Well, coincidentally, I watched a fabulous movie from the 70s called The Yakuza that was all about cutting off people's pinky fingers. But no, this was a thing that happened in XPW with Messiah, where he...
yeah. Okay.
And he
did they cut off his thumbs?
It was... I can't remember what finger it was.
I'm pretty sure it was his thumb, dude, because that's the worst.
Yeah. The thumb would be far worse to lose than the finger.
Yeah.
I don't know which it was, but yeah, he fucked Rob Black's girlfriend or something, and then he got some dudes to cut off a digit.
Yep.
Jeez. But yeah, I reckon, is this going to lead to a Messiah comeback, feuding with Seth Rollins on Raw? Is that where we're headed here?
Oh, we can only hope, man.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I was speaking of obnoxious earbuds, reminded me of that obnoxious nickname, so I had to bring it up.
Pretty obnoxious. But yeah, I love their interrupting the promo where they just him and MJF walk in while Hammerstone's doing the promo with the interview girl, and they're just like talking about vitamin C and orange juice. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah, and I like Hammerstone's attitude with Elite. Like, what's your name? Elite? Oh, okay, cool.
And then they've ripped on her for being like Canadian and buried all Canadian food, and we're like, go and eat some poutine. Poutine sucks. And then after they leave, she's like, poutine doesn't suck.
I did like when they were in the street, and Holiday, I think that's his last name, was on the phone like talking about his dad's a lawyer,
Oh
and he's
yeah.
like, "And I'll fire you, Dad, even though
Yeah.
you're the only lawyer I know. I'll find another one." Like, I don't know why he needed to ad lib that he didn't know any other lawyers, but all right,
I love
it
that
was
he's
fucking
just
hysterical.
burying his dad. Like, don't you
Yeah,
think just because you're dad, I'm not gonna fire you?
yeah.
That was very good. Yeah, yeah. So I enjoyed that, and then the main event on this best of show, which happened to be the main. Speaking of giving away stuff for free to sample, this was the main event of their last pay per view in December, I believe, from Chicago. And so we got the world title match between LA Park and Fatu. I bloody loved this match. What did you think?
It was everything I expected.
Mhm.
Smashmouth as fuck,
Mhm.
really hard hitting, and lots of blood. I did. I don't know necessarily like the fact that Joseph Samael got so involved. I guess it's to be expected with the situation, but
Yeah, I mean Contra is really all about that, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I like. I thought it was great, man. I love the one moonsault that Jacob did,
Oh,
where it looked like
nice.
he wasn't gonna make a full rotation, but then he like it snapped. Man, he's fucking amazing.
And that spot, I thought this is the one you're referring to, where he does like the run up, jump over, almost like he's gonna do the lethal injection, where he does
Mhm.
the headstand against the ropes. Then he pops up into like a moonsault on like a standing moonsault on top of the guy. I thought that was such a bloody cool move, and especially for a dude his size.
Yeah, he does that. He did that a couple times at Washington Hall. Fuck,
Mm-hmm.
it's a sight to behold. Actually, speaking of Washington Hall, I saw him at Defy this most recent weekend. They have a stage there. He did a fucking moonsault off the stage.
Damn,
Yeah.
crazy man.
Fucking
I
nuts.
think he's money, man. Like Court is pretty smart from what I've heard. He's locked him down, but he also appears to be the only promoter that Fatu actually shows up to his bookings for regularly. So
That's awesome.
yeah, that's a
Honestly,
plus.
he's can't miss. He's like, I think if he gets away from court, he has potential to be bigger than Umaga. Like,
Mm,
I know the WWE isn't necessarily everyone's end goal, but I imagine it is for him.
yeah. I look at him, and you know how like there was the big bidding war on like Roush between like ROH and MLW earlier in the year.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was like talking about how much Roush was money. Like, I think Roush has pretty well been exposed to be not that great. But like Fatu is the kind of guy that I think could be a real difference maker. Like, if you had Fatu like in a headline program in ROH, like, or AEW, I think would be perfect for him. But yeah, he's definitely destined for one of those places.
Yeah.
But yeah, just great match. I was actually really impressed by Joseph Samael. Like he to me is just like the perfect manager. Like you probably again the Umaga thing, but remind me a lot of what his name
Armando
Armando
Estrada.
Alejandro Estrada. I didn't roll those R's. Like I can, I just didn't commit.
Oh, no worries.
Disappointing. But yeah, and then I pop every time I see someone do a fireball. I just love fireballs. Maybe it's just my love of Memphis wrestling, but I thought that was so cool.
Fireballs are rad.
Yep. And yeah, I just thought this match was great. Like you said, brutal. I just love a good LA Park brawl, and this is like the perfect meeting of both awesome LA Park intense brawl, but like LA Park having his working boots on and actually like wrestling as well. Like LA Park
Hell
did
yeah.
some really sweet stuff in this match. Like wrestled more than you would normally see.
And also, dude could still do some crazy shit off the rope, like
Oh, that
like
tumbleweed!
yeah, that was rad. And then Joseph, basically, or not Joseph, but Fatu basically mashed him a little bit later. That was pretty cool too.
And he did it just. I'm always shocked at how great his topes are.
Yeah, man, and to be doing so this long. Fucking
Yep. With
bananas.
that belly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. Still great. I'll always love me some LA Park. And yeah, the bloody the railroad spike. Ah, that got me. Love a good railway spiking.
Just sneaks in the ring and just starts stabbing him in the forehead repeatedly.
Yeah.
No, and they used the ref distraction, which apparently they, based off the rules of the match, didn't need, but they did it anyway.
Yep. I guess they forgot the rules. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, and then the spot with Stingo getting put through the table.
That must have hurt because they did it off center. Like, she didn't actually go through the table all the way. She went and hit the ropes. I bet that hurt worse than just going through the table.
Yeah, that looked nasty.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
But
just
don't
thought
really like
the
her,
match
so
built
that's
up
okay.
really well.
Sorry, that was...
And yeah, the finish was great. And props to him. This is, again, all of the awesome wrestling going on. I didn't hear shit about that match when it happened. Did you?
Nope.
And that was like their biggest show to date, like their big pay-per-view that they're finally done. You think it'd get more chatter, and like, I don't know, it was like when it happened and there were all of the news going on, but no one's talking about this shit. They should be.
Of course. I popped because I'm selfishly looking through the crowd and seeing people wear my shirt designs. Speaking of which, the Jimmy Havoc and Mansoor match, Jimmy was wearing one of my shirt designs. I popped for that too.
Nice.
That match was silly as fuck.
Have you ever seen a good match with the two dudes wearing the blindfolds?
Never. They're always dumb. I mean, they did it. They made it kind of funny, and because they knew how hokey they are. But yeah.
So then the big Opera Cup we moved on to in the next episode. I think the overall idea of that's really cool. Bringing back this like tournament that used to be a thing for years and years in wrestling is like a annual deal that like finished in the 50s, but like we're bringing it back now.
Over that it was something that Stu Hart was part of.
Yeah, well, Stu Hart won the last one, and so the original trophy is like a family heirloom, and they had it like restored, and they're using that as the actual trophy for this tournament.
Do you think we're being worked, or is that legit? Like, not the whole angle of the thing, but that's probably not the real Opera Cup, right?
I would like to believe it's true.
The way you were saying it sounded like
like
you genuinely believed
history, so I feel like Court would actually go to the effort of doing that.
The way you were saying it, you genuinely believed it. Like, this guy's getting worked. Look, the magic's alive in this kid.
Man, if that kayfabe is killed for me, I will have nothing left in wrestling to believe anymore.
Oh, well, dude, kayfabe got killed today. I found out that Sergeant Slaughter was never in the military. A boom.
How? So, I mean, had you heard like the rumors before of like people saying maybe he wasn't like as a Navy SEAL, but he was definitely like involved in like the...
He said he was in the Marines.
I thought it was a SEAL. Oh no, that's Jesse Ventura, isn't it?
Yeah, Jesse. Yeah, he was a Navy SEAL.
Yeah. But I mean, there was something where he wasn't like what he was saying he was, but he was at least in the training or whatever, like training up grunts. So it's like, all right, I guess that makes sense. But then, yeah, there's talk maybe he didn't even do that.
Yeah, not even a drill sergeant.
I don't know what to believe.
It's so great because I know it's kayfabe and, he's doing a wrestling gimmick, but it just happens to be that pretending to be a real military person is terrible.
Well, it used to get a lot of heat. I was reading an old newspaper article today from like the 80s, and it was like an article where they interviewed some, high up army dude. I don't know what these things are called. But he was saying about how much the army has whatever military has been pissed off by sergeants. They've been trying to find out whether he actually has a history, but has been quite elusive. And they're really annoyed at them using supposed people in military outfits who get beat down by the heels for Sarge to come out and make the save.
Yeah.
And they're saying about how disrespectful that is and blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
Fantastic. It's hilarious, but also ridiculous.
Yeah.
If he ever actually was really claiming to be a true military guy and like got honored for that shit, then fuck that. But if he
I
was
get
just
it
doing
though.
it,
Like if you're a worker, and this is
Oh, yeah,
in
back
the
then?
in the 70s and the 80s, right? Like it's about protecting kayfabe. So it's like
Yeah.
if someone tries to prove that you're not the actual gimmick that you're doing, you fucking lie. You be
the Wild
elusive
Samoans
and
didn't
you
even
lie.
refused to speak English.
Yeah. So I don't think he did anything wrong, other than maybe now, or I guess when do you think the cutover period when he probably should have come out and be like, yeah, I didn't do that. When should that have been? The 90s?
Probably. It shouldn't have been found out like all where it came out all seedy and stuff. You know what I mean?
But I mean, do you reckon if he came out in the 90s, in the late 90s, let's say, he comes out and he's like, all right, I was never actually a sergeant, it was a wrestling character. Do you think
Or
he
you could
would
come
have
out and
gotten
say,
some
you
mad
could be like,
heat?
of course I wasn't a fucking real military guy. It's a wrestling gimmick. Like, make it pretend like people should have known. It would have been like not like he was confessing something. Like he should just come out and go, duh.
I think he would have gotten in a lot of trouble if he came out and do it. I reckon that's why he probably never did.
I think it'd be
Remember
easier
the
for
G.I.
him
Joe
to.
thing that he had?
Yeah.
Like, he's a TV celebrity and everything, and people, like,
Oh, that's what it
react
was,
to him.
dude. He was a member of GI Joe, so it's a elite fighting unit that is disavowed by the government. They don't actually know what's going on. All those files were burnt.
Yeah. See, that should have been it. He's like, no, I was in the G.I. Joes. That's...
Yeah, you idiots. That kind of stuff is not public record. What's going on?
What is going on?
Nothing happened on my end. All of a sudden, I heard loud rubbing noises on your end. Were you moving about? Were you
Maybe.
touching your?
I think I was scratching my
your
leg.
microphone by chance?
I was scratching my leg. Is that better? Has it gone away?
It's gone away. Yeah, it was all sorts of fuzz.
Strange. I'm glad you let me know. Sometimes I get a little bit caught up. I'll start tapping a pen. I'll scratch a appendage. Not my. That sounds like I'm talking about my dick. I'm not talking. About
It's
that.
like you specify, not that appendage.
As men, that's the only appendage that matters, right?
Yeah, my arm is broken, but as long as my penis is okay,
Yep.
I'm good.
Yeah, I could lose all arms, both legs, but as long as I still got my dick, all good.
Too bad Messiah lost his thumbs because now he has a dick and no thumbs. He can put sandwich his hands together, I think.
I thought it was only one. Like he still has the other one, I'm assuming.
Oh, let's take a look. When I was looking through the list of the things that happened this year, I was looking through the deaths, and I saw Dick Beyer on there, the Destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminded me of this picture I saw this year of Dick Beyer in a jazzercise class in his fucking hood. He's like in his 70s jazzercising.
Amazing.
With these ladies still wearing his mask. Imagine that, dude. It'd be go into full wrestling, or you're just like some middle-aged woman jazzercising. You look over to this old guy in a wrestling. Oh yeah, that's just Dick. He's a little strange. He used to wrestle.
Have you seen those amazing pictures of him golfing with like Giant Barber?
Oh no, that sounds rad too.
Oh,
okay,
so
yeah,
great.
it was just one thumb.
Okay.
He had his thumb cut off during the assault.
Right. He wrestled after that, didn't he?
I believe that is the case. Yeah.
I need to track down some footage and look carefully at that thumb. See.
Who
how
was the
much
other
it took him.
guy that was really popular during those days? Like Messiah had a lot of battles with.
Like in XPW specifically?
Yeah.
It was like
Who's the other
Messiah. Vic Grimes was pretty big back then. The clown guy. Homeless Jimmy, I remember.
There's like a bald guy, like a fat, short bald guy.
Wasn't that Vic Grimes?
No, I think there's another one. Hang on, let me take a look. XPW wrestlers.
Isn't the internet a magical thing?
Yeah, man. Like literally all of the information that we could possibly want. There was another guy besides Vic Grimes, I swear, but it looks like I might be wrong.
I think I
But
know
yeah.
the guy you're talking about, but it's not Supreme. Boom.
That's right. Boom. Thanks,
Yeah.
buddy.
He
I knew it was
was the
another
first
single
ever
word name.
XPW champion, apparently.
It was like I was trying to think. Like I know it's just like a single word, like Messiah.
Yep. Man.
Yep, there he is, big fat guy.
Oh man, was XPW ever good? I don't think it was. It was fun
I don't
on
think
some
so.
of those videotapes back in the day that were just like interspliced between XPW and porn.
Yeah, it was like you watch your Faces of Death, and then you watch a little XPW. I never watched Faces of Death, actually. So.
The best thing about XPW, I remember, was like a Louis Theroux documentary about the porn industry, and he had Rob Black on it, and he talked both about like his weird fetish porn, and then also like the wrestling and how they kind of like go together. And I was like, this is just the most fascinating interview I've ever heard in my life.
Sex work and wrestling or professional wrestling are pretty adjacent.
Yeah.
You're using your body to entertain others and get paid.
Even for their time, like there's still not shit that's like to the level of what Rob Black used to produce. Like chicks getting like raped by clowns on top of garbage and shit. Like that's fucked up.
I'm kind of hard now.
Yeah, you probably, I don't know. Maybe there's more of a want for it now because it's more edgy. I don't know how these things work.
Weird. I just got a message from a direct message. Some woman, she said she's in peacekeeping mission in Libya and needs help. Wants me to email money for the troops. And she said this as a direct message on Twitter.
Well, as long as it's a direct message, I think you should probably listen to her. That sounds pretty.
I do like
legit.
the troops.
Yeah.
All right. Said.
Yep. All right. The two hosts here have approved it. I guess you should send the money.
Done.
Excellent. All right.
Sorry to be so random in that last part.
No. I look forward to hearing back. Hopefully, we can follow up on this on the next episode. And
looks like my pay count has been drained. I am now penniless.
Oh dear. Oh,
like a bad
gosh.
suggesting. There goes my internet.
Oh man, you can't trust anyone these days. Disappointing. So, anything else that really in 2019 was like, wow, forgot about that?
Honestly, the only thing I thought was a big deal, other than that, which is technically not
like
really a big
on
deal,
this
but
list
just
that where you were like, huh.
Honestly, dude, no, because I just the death is what was most interesting to me. Like I forgot so many people fucking died. Like in what a huge list. Like Mean Gene and just incredible and
you feel bad
incredibly
about
depressing.
That, though, you know, I felt bad. I was like, man, how did I just completely forget that person is no longer with us? I mean, it's not like I deal with them on a day-to-day basis, but still.
Arrow and fucking Harley. It's just Moondog Rex, which we talked about, I think, the last show.
Silver King, who we've also covered
Silver
on the
King.
show. But Les Thornton was one that got me, because I only really got on to how fucking incredible Les Thornton was this past year when I was watching old Georgia Championship Wrestling. And this guy was just a fucking incredible UK wrestler who looked like as fucking wide and as big as like Bruno Sammartino, but could just wrestle.
His jaw is like it looks like he can chop wood with his jawline.
Got like the incredible butt chin.
Yep.
Good looking cat. Man, and yeah, I cannot believe he didn't have more success. But every match that I see of his, if I see his name, I'm like, oh shit, this will be good, and it pretty much always is.
He worked for a pretty long time.
So
he worked until the until the 90s. Actually, that's pretty crazy.
That's an accomplishment. Who else we got here? Yeah, Destroyer. I remembered that one, and I went to the Destroyer Memorial show when I was in Japan. That was very cool. But yeah, I mean, people kind of like forget how much of just a huge figure Destroyer was in Japan. I'd say probably easily the most successful gaijin wrestler in the history of Japanese wrestling. That goes a long way.
The Destroyer?
Yeah. I mean, that's putting him up against dudes like, Lou Thez, Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody. Like, I'd say Destroyer in terms of like just national appeal. I don't think anyone tops him.
High praise.
Ashley Massaro also.
Very depressing.
Forgot about that. Yep.
Tragic.
Indeed. More actually, no, you can't say that.
Let's compare tragedies. We're gonna rank the tragedies. Hang on, guys.
Yeah, the top 10 tragedies. Fuck. Worst.
Oh, King Kong Bundy, top tragedy.
Yeah. No, one that bummed me out the most, I think. Do you remember hearing about it, Tsushi Aoki?
Yeah.
So he was a dude who, from when I've been watching Noah for a long time, and I basically saw this guy from when he was like a rookie all the way up to like when he was one of the top guys, and he jumped over to All Japan, and he's always just been fantastic, great wrestler. And yeah, at the age of 41, while he's All Japan Junior Heavyweight Championship, news just comes out that he died. Like, fucking what? How did this guy die? He's like healthy and it's like died in a motorcycle accident. Just so wild.
Yeah, I wonder if he was like hot dogging or it was just something that happened.
Yeah. No, apparently it was like he just took a bad turn going into a tunnel and fucking that's all it takes.
Usually is.
Yep. Paco Alonso was another one where I remembered, but I mean, just the ramifications of that are enormous. You know, the promoter who's been in charge of
power shifting.
Yep. And how much people thought it was going to go in the shakeout of it. I mean, he's been in charge of CMLL for like bloody 30 years or more. And is just everything in that company has his fingerprints all over it. And then so he passes away, and it's like would really be the equivalent of like if Vince McMahon died, I guess. But if he was a lot better promoter. But yeah, like then it was like, oh, is it going to go to his daughter, Sophie Alonso? And then it turns out she's like not ready and wants to make all these changes and would have shaken up the office too much. So then they went with his her uncle, his brother, I believe, Chavo Luderoth. So yeah, crazy stuff. That was really big, and I think CMLL has probably come out of it a lot better than a lot of people were fearing, I'd say. But yeah, I'd say a lot of that's probably due to Chavo. But yeah, another one to keep track of. And then, like you were saying, Harley Race. Crazy.
Dude, the name that sticks out on here just because of how crazy is Izzy Slapowitz. I heard it when the person passed away was the first time I heard of it, but Izzy Slapowitz is such a great wrestling name.
That is a fantastic wrestling name. He was 71, mainly for Mid-South, Knoxville territories.
He did some outlaw mud shows.
Yeah. A stable with Bob Orton Jr., Boris Malenko.
This is awesome. Early in his career, Smith had never been in such an event. He was pelted by Coke cans and other items by unruly fans, and paramedics loaded him into an ambulance.
Now that is a mark of a good heel, my friend.
He got beat up with Coke cans.
Man, yeah, this dude was everywhere. I don't think I even heard about this. Shit. I'm hoping Dave has a nice write-up on him coming soon.
This is awesome, too. Slapowitz initially presented as a shady New York businessman who owned a chain of pawn shops throughout the city. In his first television appearance, however, Southern audience thought he said pawn shop, thought he said porn shop due to his thick New York accent.
That's amazing.
That's great.
I also love just the idea that his character is a shady New York businessman in charge of shady secondhand stores.
Yeah, that's great. Like, we can accept your secondhand stores, but porno? No, sir.
We don't take that dirty shit down here in the South. We like it clean.
And honestly, as far as years in review, this is the list that's most important. The people that gave their lives basically to entertain us, and unfortunately, in some situations, cut very short. But some guys lived to the fucking ripe old age of 76. Mean Gene, what a life that guy must have lived. You know, like running with the biggest wrestling stars and just being basically a sidekick. They probably just busted his balls all the time, but Mean Gene got a respect.
Yeah, from what I hear, Mean Gene was pretty damn good at busting them right back.
Yeah, damn right.
One that got me recently, we haven't even talked about this on the show. This is like, it's rare where a wrestling death comes out and it actually like, rather than just, like, I'm like, oh Man, fuck, that takes me back. But did you hear about Mr. Niebler passing away recently?
I did not. I just read on your fucking blood infection. That is
Yeah.
a terrible way to go.
So he was still like a top guy in CMLL. Like
His mask is so red.
Oh yeah, always one of the coolest masks. One of just those totally electric, charismatic guys like Dr. Wagner Jr., to where it's like every little movement is like primping and preening and like just that electricity kind of thing. He's like dancing and shit. Like he was always one of my favorites. He was as part of La Pesta Negra, which was like they're one of these cool sort of heel factions with Cavernario, El Barbaro, and Felino and Negro Casas, and they'd like sort of be like garbage men, and they'd like come out with like garbage cans and be like dancing and just
That's awesome.
yeah,
Man,
he was great. Yeah, that really bummed me out, man. But apparently he had a long history of like with alcoholism. So I don't know if that like played a role at the end in him being like in a weakened state, but yeah, that apparently in Mexico that was a really huge deal because he was like so loved by so many people.
Dude, his pictures, like you said, his personality comes right off the page. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. He's been doing it for so long, like there were even like footage that came out of like matches that he had on like IWRG and stuff from just the last couple of years, to where it was just like when he was on, like he could go with the best of them. But yeah.
R.I.P. brother.
All right. So how can we end this on a better note than just talking about everyone that died?
Well, we can talk about what we have planned for the future. Upcoming things that we have going on. How's these art projects shaking out currently for you, friend?
Yes. So I'm well into this 100 bloodiest matches book that I'm doing the illustration for the great dudes at Hybrid Shoot. And it's been a really fun project, both because it's pretty much my bread and butter of like drawing bloody territorial wrestlers. Like that's just fun anyway.
You would have been doing it anyway.
Yeah, that's what I told myself. But the real fun part has been like going back and like watching all of these matches. So I kind of have like a process where I'll like go back, I'll watch the match, I'll try to find some good reference material from the match, a good like screenshot or whatever to draw from that's got like a good kind of visual that I can use as reference material. But as you may be able to relate to, I've been getting distracted a little bit easily in this process. And being the completist that I am, like I was talking about the Moondogs one that I was doing the other week, I rather than just watching the specific match between the Moondogs and the Fabulous Ones, I end up going back and needing to watch the entire feud start to finish with every promo and angle.
Of course.
Which, as you can imagine, can be quite time consuming. So it's definitely been a labor of love. It's been fun. But now I really am getting into the pointy end of it. I've got a lot of drawings to get done and not so much time till the deadline. So it's becoming more of an efficient thing and a bit more of a challenge. So I'm kind of at that point where I'm like, not the point of fear or panic just yet, but the point of like, all right, I really need to be able to just get the drawing done, get into the computer, get the digitalization done, and then batch it and continue on to really get these numbers out. So I guess it's changing over a bit from like a real labor of love to more of like a thing that I have to get done.
Yeah.
So
you need the fear. The fear.
I mean, you may be able to relate to that. Sometimes it's the pressure that makes you do your best work.
100%. Yes, dude. I've been kind of busy getting like not a ton of designs at once, but steady. They stream in pretty quickly, so I always try to give myself a little time to get it done. But when you get distracted with a bunch of wrestling and trying to cover all kinds of different shows and then trying to have a real life outside of all that and then work a regular job, it's, then the creativity starts to flow all at once, and it can be explosion at points in time. So that's fun when the pressure gets to you and all of a sudden the valve is kind of left and you're just sieve. It's all coming out.
Yeah. Like, I'm wondering if I get to the point and I'm just like sit down for a good 15 hours, just like non-stop. All right, this is when things are happening. I'm just not going to stop till I get a good number out.
Word. Before we go, I wanted to put over one of our buddies because I just ordered one of his shirts. Did you see Jedi Jekyll's or Yeti or whatever his full name is? Jackson.
Jedi Jack Yeti. Yeah, Jackson's on.
Did you see his new fucking worm shirt?
Let me see this.
Oh, dude, it's so
I'm jumping on the
awesome.
Instagram now.
So he did this awesome Rodzilla, Dennis Rodman NWO shirt, and it says Worm 2020. You get like a political sticker with it. It's so awesome.
He's
Black
wearing
on
that
red
awesome
shirt.
old NWO skull cap.
Yep, it's so cool. Yeah, I just had to pick that up. I ordered way too many shirts.
Man.
He's so good. He's so good.
Rodzilla for NWA Hall of Fame induction. You get like a little badge as well.
Yeah.
Sticker.
So cool.
Dude, that's so cool. 20 bones for the shirt and the sticker.
It was a steal. It was a steal. When I saw it was both for $20, I'm like, yep, copping that.
Bargain. Hot damn. And I loved Rodzilla back in the day.
Same. He didn't always put all his effort into it, but when he did, he was fucking super entertaining, man.
Yep. Easily, I'd say number one celebrity wrestler in WCW history. Actually, number two next to RoboCop.
RoboCop. What about Mean Kevin Green?
I know of Kevin Green. I watched the match and he like actually was legit really, really good wrestling wise, like way better than I had any expectation of. But like I never really watched him in football because I didn't watch NFL from that time, so I didn't necessarily have the same crossover appeal that you probably would.
Yeah, not the affinity. No, I didn't either. I didn't really care for the NFL either. So.
Right.
All right, let's close up shop, buddy.
Let's close it down. All right, so everybody can follow me on the Twitter and Instagram at Chris Things. Now, you can also follow our show at Grown Men Pod. I highly recommend this because, as we've said, we sometimes don't know when the show's going to come out. So the best resource for you to know when a new show is out is to check out the Instagram page because we actually post a link to it on there. Amazing.
Brilliant. Also, you can follow me at Jaims Vanderbeek, Jaims Vanderbeek on both Instagram and Twitter. You can also, if you want to hear more of me, you can listen to The Steel Cage. Me and Derek just recorded a show today, so it might be dropping soon. It was a lot of fun. And then I'm also on another podcast called The Jabroni Journal. I like that.
Good name.
So we just talked about what's going on in mainstream wrestling on that one. So if you want to listen to that one, it's on KISW.com. Just check out the podcast link.
Very good, very good. And last time, and maybe several shows now, I've forgotten a very important thing.
Social suplex?
Yes!
Oh, shit. Did they remind you, or did you find out later?
No, I just reminded myself. I was like, fuck, I knew there was something I was meant to be doing. Everyone should definitely check out all of the good stuff on the Social Suplex Wrestling Podcast Network. It's a variety of good shows on there, more so than I have in my notes right here. But some of the top ones that you may know of, One Nation Radio, Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show, the All Elite Wrestling Show, and of course, Keeping It Strong Style. All of that over at socialsuplex.com. Check them out on Twitter. A lot of good stuff. So a big double barrel thumbs up to our good friends over at Social Suplex. Keep the good work. Keep up the good work, yeah.
I actually talked to them about their probably plan another Mania get-together shindig, so I'm not sure if you're planning on coming over, but I think I'm going to try to join them for that thing.
That sounds nice. Yeah, I don't know whether I'll be able to make it. It's still a bit iffy. I've really toed and froed on it, but yeah, the money from following my last Japanese trip is it feels like it would be a bit of a dumb financial decision to go straight over
Don't
to Tampa.
cripple yourself financially for professional wrestling. The dumbness is not that strong.
Especially if I would, and if I had to pick one out of two, I think I'd pick Bowler over Mania weekend. How about you?
Smart. I probably will end up doing both, but if I was going to choose, it definitely would have been Bola. But unfortunately, I've already, I've laid down some money.
Oh no, I'm not suggesting you do choose. I'm just saying if it was one or the other for you,
definitely
which
Bola.
way?
If I had to choose, it would certainly be Bola. A lot more fun.
Yeah, for real. Hey, as a last question, I was wondering this when you're talking about the other shows. Do you have a thing where you try not to talk about the same shit over and over again, and you'll somehow try to separate the content that you talk about on each show, or does it all end up kind of the same stuff anyway?
There was a couple of lines or bits where I felt the commentary was strong, so I did repeat them over the two shows, but not significantly because they don't cover the same stuff, luckily enough.
Right.
So it shouldn't have that much crossover.
Okay.
And also, if you don't end up coming to Mania, I guess I'll just have to pack up your two shirts that I have for you and send them your way.
Oh, or just hold on to them for the rest of the year until Bowl.
Yeah. Might be just pack them in my back and bring them with me.
Oh man!
All right, man. Well, you have a great night. Hope things shake up a little bit better down there. I definitely let me know if there's any link I can, because I have a bit of a following. I'll try to get some, eyeballs on it. I'm sure everybody else already knows, but give me the good. I don't want to send any money to any ill-appropriated places.
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of good things going on. Some of the different ones that I've seen being shared are good, reputable causes, but I'll share that Wires one to you because I think that's one of the best when it comes to the wildlife rescue, which is very important to me.
Cool. All right, buddy.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks
everybody.
guys.
Get swifty.
Bye. All right. Woo.
It was a fun show, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. I had fun talking the wrestling with you.